How you guys doing today? We're here at the airplane hangar. I'm here with Dale, and I'm going to make a video for you guys on how to caulk some baseboards using Alex Plus. And this is a product here made by DAP. It's an all-purpose acrylic latex caulk plus silicone. It's a 40-year, and it's basically paintable in 30 minutes. So this is the product I use. Here's the caulking gun I'm using to apply it. This is made by Husky. These are great. They swivel, and they have a low and a high force switch here. You could drop it to where you could put less or more force on it. This is twistable, so as you're moving and turning, it twists. So this is a real nice caulking gun. I'm going to use a Milwaukee headlamp, latex gloves. Basically right here we're going to have a bucket with some water as well as some microfiber towels, which are slightly damp. And then right here, these are there's 3 anti-fatigue mats from Harbor Freight, and I duct taped them together. That way you don't ruin your knees. So the biggest thing you want to do, and I haven't demonstrated it in this video, is how to prep them. And I did that basically I've done that before, so they're already prepped. But the main thing is you want to dig the old caulking out and you want to clean it. So I used a caulking removal tool, and I cleaned it with microfiber as well as water with a little bit of Dawn dish soap in the bottom of the bucket. So probably 5 to 10 drops of Dawn dish soap just to kind of supercharge it a little bit, make sure everything's nice and clean, cut the grease and the grime. So long and short of it, the other tool you will need here as well is this Milwaukee razor blade. So, or any sort of razor blade, but this is one that I use and I keep on me every day for projects and everything. So I'm gonna whip this guy open, and then this tip comes and it's sealed. So I'm gonna wanna cut the tip off. A lot of guys will cut it flat, but I'm gonna cut it at a 45-degree angle because I like to hold my caulking gun at a 45-degree angle. So I'm gonna cut it right here on the bucket and show you guys how I do it. So basically we'll cut it at a 45. Right on the edge of that bucket, and that's kind of what it looks like. You can cut the tip off in desired lengths. So if you look here, if you zoom in, Dale, there's just a little opening there because I want to be able to control the caulking. Some guys will cut it off down here, and a lot more will come out. So it depends on how much, how big of gaps you have to caulk. But if you do a real nice job and you move slowly and methodically and use a headlamp, which is important, and you're careful with it, you can get a really nice job. So we're going to get straight into it here. I'm going to get closer to the baseboard, and I've already caulked some of it. So I'm just going to, the key to it is, and this is how I do it, is I hold it at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to turn my headlamp on, because obviously I'll shut the headlamp off, you can see. Can't see quite as well, so I'll turn that on, and that'll if you can't see it, you can't fix it. If you can't see it, you can't make it nice. So I'm going to basically take the caulking gun at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to just slowly pull the trigger. It's going to start to initiate the caulking coming out, and then you want to just be steady. I'm not super concerned with how the bead looks. If for example, if it bunches up there, it's not the end of the world because I'm going to smooth it out with my finger. So I'm doing this by hand, one-handed, and then I'm going to jump up to the next level, to the upper portions, and you see how it's coming out. I'm going to wipe the tip off real quick. The key is keeping it nice and clean. So I'm going to start at the same spot that I did on the lower portion where it meets the floor, and I'm going to slowly spread it on there, and I'm just kind of lightly pulling the trigger. When you come to the end of the trigger, then you can just lightly pull it a little bit more. And now that I'm done, I'm going to release pressure from the caulking gun, so when it's sitting on the ground, it's not going to leak all over the floor. One of the biggest keys, in my opinion, is when you're spreading the stuff on, is to go nice and slow. And if you look at some of the caulking where it's bunched up, you want to slow down even more, so that way it kind of disperses it under your finger. Really, it comes down to a feel thing, but you're just going to want to do a really good job. Make sure you don't put your finger over that. So I'm going to get straight into it here with my headlamp. So like I said, nice and slow. My towel is damp, so I usually put a little bit on my finger so it lets it glide a little bit. But I'm just gonna come back here and I'm gonna go nice and slow. And then especially here where it's starting to bunch up, and I'm gonna have to come back over it again, where it's starting to bunch up, I'll go even slower. And that'll give the caulking time to kind of smooth out so it doesn't create an edge. So there you go. So like that, and I can move a little bit faster now because there's less caulking. And then here I'm gonna go nice and slow because I'm gonna blend it in. If you don't go nice and slow, what'll happen is you'll get an edge right here, and that doesn't look quite as nice. Now I'm gonna wipe the tip of my pointer finger off here, make sure it's nice and lubricated with some water, and then I'm gonna go nice and kind of more a faster application. Then I'm gonna whip my finger just a touch. I'll go one more and kind of blend it in. So if you look at how nice it looks. So now I'll go down, we'll drop down to the lower portion. Same thing, nice and slow. And basically, the biggest key is blending it in. And if you do this right after you paint it, it looks dynamite. So I'll start to blend it in, I'll whip my finger a little bit, wipe the excess off, and then one more time. Whip the foam a little. So we got a little more here. So you want to come over here, Dale? So I do sections at a time. I do roughly, let's call it 2-foot sections. So there's a real nice bead right there. And then I ran out of the trigger, so I stop, and then I'm gonna lightly start pulling into it again. And we're basically done there. And then the bottom has a little bit of a fatter gap. So I'm gonna run up the seam like this. And then I'm actually gonna twist the caulking gun and go over about 1 inch or 2, and then I'm going to twist it back over, and I'm going to go nice and slow. I want to build up a fair amount of caulking on the bottom because the gap's bigger. One thing I will tell you, that if the gap is too big, then you may want to do 2 applications. Sometimes it's nice just to spread one application and, you know, spread it in with your finger, and if that doesn't quite fill, come back with a second application. But as you can see, we put a fair amount of caulking on the bottom versus the top. I don't need as much on the top. So one thing I will do in this case, when I come into an edge, is I'll run the vertical surface first, and I'll kind of spread it like that, and then I'll take the tip and wipe it off here, tip of my finger, and then I'll kind of run up the seam again. That's real nice. And I'm going to blend it back this way, and you can see there's a little bit of an edge right there, so I'm going to take my finger, kind of remove the edge, and then blend it out a little more. It's pretty tricky to make it really nice, but the key is taking your time. Here I'm going to go nice and slow because I don't want it to jump out of the gap there, and I'm getting a little bit of an edge on the top and the bottom, just because there's so much caulking on there. But I'll show you guys how to kind of fix that. But like I said before, you could actually, 2 applications would be better than 1. So you can apply it once and then apply it again, and then you wouldn't have to put this much caulking on it. You can just kind of fill the gap. So right now, I'm kind of removing the edge, upper and lower, and then blend it in. I've got a little bit of an edge on the lower. I put quite a bit of caulking on there, so that's why. But if you do a really nice job caulking this, when you paint it, it'll look dynamite. Like I said, one more blend with my finger, kind of whip it out. What you can also do is put your finger in a bucket of water and put a lot of water on there, and then it'll really glide across the surface. So now I got a little spot on the bottom where there's a gap, so I'm going to fill that in a little bit, and I'll release the pressure of the caulking gun, that way it doesn't leak on the floor. I'm going to go back to a nice light pressure. That was actually turned out nice, and then I'll blend it one more time. Nice pull. Now I'm going to come back up to the top. So I'm going to start here, nice and slow. And the beauty is, if somebody didn't do the best job caulking it before, then you can just apply it over the whole top of the baseboard, and boom, you can blend it in nice. So there we go. So I'm going to come over here to this one. There's a little spot right here. I'm going to put a little caulking right there, and I'm going to do a little bit right here. One thing you could do is you can take a Bondo spreader too sometimes and wipe it on there, but just want to use a little bit of finesse, and boom, that spot's covered. Same with that. I'll come back and wipe it again. The long and short of this is it all comes down to finesse, caring about what you do, being clean and orderly with it. So right there, I'm going to just wipe the end of that off. Then I'm going to start in again. So I'll start an inch or two before. Flip the gun around, boom. And this video is for my buddy Bailey Piper, by the way. He just bought a new house and was asking me about painting and caulking. So I'm here at Dale's Hangar. Beautiful place here in Watkins, Colorado. And I thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of give him a tutorial. So sometimes too, if my gloves are a little bigger, these are XL, or these are larges or X, they might be XLs. I'll pull down on the glove on my pointer finger just to make sure it's nice and tight. Once again, just kind of moving slow. Biggest key to moving slow is you don't get the edges. You know, if you move pretty quick, you know, the caulking will kind of spread out on both sides of your fingers and it'll leave an edge. So there we go. They said before, I usually do the verticals first, and I put a lot more on there, so I can just drop it down in the bottom and smear it at the bottom of the crack when you pick up some excess. See, there's an edge right there, which I don't like. So you can just take your other finger, boom, there we go, and that looks nice. Once again, if you have an area that's say you're having a little bit of an issue with in a corner or something, you can take dunk your finger in a bucket, or take a squirt bottle with water and lightly soak it, and it'll kind of glide on top of the caulking versus drag on it, and then it'll really make it nice. I may show you guys that on the last stretch here. So yeah, one more time. I was getting a little bunching right there, so there might be part of the edge from the old caulking. All right, to the home front here. All right, once again, 45-degree angle. Nice smooth pressure on the trigger, and then I'm gonna release it at the end, just like that. So that's a nice bead of caulking. And then on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing, of course. It's important to release the pressure, big time. You'll find out when you leave a pool of caulking, which can be cleaned up with a little bit of water. So I'm going to bring that back like that. And then the other thing you could do is I can use my thumb. Go this way with my thumb. And then I can just spread it back out with my finger. One thing that's nice to do is make steady, consistent pulls. So when you're trying to blend one area you did into another area, just pull it nice and consistent. I'm gonna put a little bit more right there. And I'm gonna kind of drop it back into the crack. Wipe the tip of my finger off. Just like that. If you get any of this stuff on your wall or on the floor, you can just wipe it up with a microfiber towel, a damp microfiber. I am going to put a little caulking around this as well, so this will kind of show you. You don't want necessarily a ton. And I could stop it short on the bottom in case I have any excess as I come around the switch. So I have a little more than I wanted, and that happens sometimes. So as you can see, I have a little bit of an edge here. The most important thing is just to take your time. You still want to be productive, but just take your time and really smooth it out. But if you do a real nice job, it'll make your painting look amazing. I'm going to take a little bit of water on this one just to show you guys how it's done. I'll dip my finger in the bucket, and then I'll kind of tap it out on the rag, and then lightly run over it. The beauty of it, it kind of helps glide it on the surface when your finger's damp. And wipe around it, and voila. So that's how you guys do it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and hope you guys enjoy my videos. And if there's anything you want to see in a future video you think I can help you out with, please let me know. Thanks for watching. Just push the button. Hell.